I'm here at Cultus Corral Horse Camp, Deschutes National Forest here in Central Oregon. There's 11 campsites. Let's go check them out. Here's our first junction. Stockwater Trailhead parking that way. We want to go to the campground, which is this way. So as we enter the campground, here's a potable water-only water spigot. So there's 11 campsites here at Cultus Corral Horse Camp, Deschutes National Forest, Central Oregon. This is a campground designed specifically for horse owners. So if you are not a horse owner, I would steer clear of this campground. There's very specialized infrastructure for the horses. So leave this for the horses since there's very few campgrounds that have that infrastructure. If you're just a regular single family or a group, I would go to one of the other myriad of campgrounds in the area. I believe there's 33 campgrounds in the Cascade Lakes Byway area, and almost all of them are not for horses. So leave this one for the horse owners. And we're gonna go look at the 11 sites. Sign says keep left, so we will go the way of the vehicle. So I looked at Recreation.gov at Cultus Corral Horse Campground. There's 11 sites. All of them are 4 horses, except site 2 is 2 horses. So that makes it easy to remember. Here is site 1, park here. So here are your 4 horse corrals, 1, 2, 3, 4, very basic. It's definitely a utility base camp play. 3 squares and a cot mentality, nothing special about the site. It's just pure logistics, picnic table, fire pit, and 4 corrals. A little bit of shade from the trees, a parking lot, room for a couple vehicles, long parking, presumably for a trailer. And so that was site 1. So I've reviewed several horse camps, and generally they're very much utility base camp plays. There are a lot of times they don't have a lot of fanciness. Here's a restroom there in the center. They're basically just 3 squares and a cot. You got your corrals, you got water, you got parking, picnic table, fire pit, and that's it. Like nothing too fancy. I don't think most people who got horses are too worried about anything too fancy. Here's number 2. Got a nice long driveway. Again, presuming you got a trailer, you got to get your horses here somehow, right? Picnic table, fire pit. Again, you got your corral. This one's painted green. So is that one over there. So this is 2. So these are all pretty basic. I mean, these are all serviceable. There's not a lot of variety. I'm going to analyze this campground a little differently than I normally would a campground. I don't think privacy lines are that big of a deal at a horse camp. I think most horse owners understand it's more of a logistic base camp play. A lot of times you got a group situation going on anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. That said, privacy lines between 2 and I guess that's presumably 3 over there, kind of right on top of each other, but that's okay. You got their horses there, your horses here. So that's 2. Pretty basic so far. Let's continue along. So here's 3. You see a little brown post. Come around here, nice wide. This one's got the widest parking so far. If you got like really big vehicles, big trailer, 3 is pretty darn good so far. You got your fire pit centrally located, your picnic table kind of up against this little thicket of pines. Of course, you got 2 right across the way. So if you do want privacy, is that something that matters to you, then 2 and 3 are kind of a little on top of each other. So it's a little suboptimal, keeping it real. This one does says 4 at Recreation.gov. Of course, you got 4 stalls. It's the exact same stalls as 2, but whatever. Not too worried about it. So this is a 4-pack for your horses, your corral, picnic table, fire pit. Very basic, but this one's got the widest parking so far. I will also say you got your neighbor right there, presumably 4 straight ahead, probably blocked by your vehicle, so you wouldn't have a line of sight, but something to be aware of. So again, that was 2, and 3's got the best parking so far. So if you got like a wide trailer, I like 3 the best so far out of our 11. And we will continue along. And here's 4. You can see the little brown post. Looks like 5 right across the way. So these aren't really separated privacy-wise, but that's okay. So this is site 4. Each one of these is a little different. So it's interesting. It's not necessarily self-evident, the difference. This one's a longer, deeper driveway, but not as wide. 3 wasn't as long, but is much wider. So depending on your trailer, your vehicle, your setup, that might matter to you. Maybe it doesn't. Picnic table, fire pit. But what's interesting is your corrals. See over there, the green, the first couple were all green and metal, enclosed. Here at site 4, you don't have an enclosed corral. You have like hitching posts. You tie up hitching posts. I'm not an expert on horses, so could be using the terminology wrong, but you get it. 1, 2, 3 hitching posts. So you tie up your horses. I don't know if you're a horse owner and if you have I would assume, just knowing human nature, that you probably have a strong preference on whether or not you want to put them in a corral or if you want to tie them up to a hitching post. So be aware of that. 4 is hitching posts. The first few are all like enclosed corrals. So I don't know if they actually tell you that on Recreation.gov, but it's good to know that because that might change your decision-making process. So here's 5. It's got a deep driveway, average width, and you got you're back to horse corral. So you got a 4-pack of the green enclosed horse corral, picnic table, fire pit, pretty good privacy lines between 5 and 4 that way. Got a good thicket of trees in your vehicle, or I should say their vehicle is probably going to be in between you, so you don't have a direct line of sight. I will say you do have presumably 6 right here, direct line of sight into your area. Maybe your vehicle blocks it. So imagine you got a party right there, picnic table, fire pit, your car's here, and then you're hanging out here. So you're kind of nestled between the 2 sites, cars blocking the line of sight, so good privacy. And I really like this corral tucked up against these thicket of pines. I'm digging it. So that was 5, about halfway done, on to 6. So there's a variety mainly in the width or depth of the parking, which could matter for your trailer, and corrals versus like hitching posts. It's really the only differences. They're all pretty much the same. Beyond that, minor differences in privacy lot lines, but not a lot of variety. Here's 6, long, deep driveway with the trailer. It's a decent width, about average. Picnic table, fire pit. Again, that one kind of faces towards 5. Got another corral. I feel like the green ones are newer and these ones are older, but I could be wrong. It's like, I don't know if that's brown, but they look just older. So you got a 4-pack of a corral up against these pines. Getting picnic table, fire pit. Average parking. You do have a little side primrose path over to your friend, presumably 7 over there. So I'll be aware of that privacy wise. But as I said, there's not a lot of variety here. I've noticed that horse camps, because I've done reviews of a lot of them, several at Mount Hood and several other places, they have a tendency to kind of have that just base camp logistics, serviceable utility play feel. 3 squares and a cot mentality, nothing fancy. So not a lot of variety here. Trying to find the points of differentiation. There's not a lot. I will say this one, 7, is unusually wide. So if you got a couple cars, wide trailers, 7's really good. That's the kind of stuff that isn't necessarily evident booking it on Recreation.gov. So 7's great for width. And you got, again, the brown type of corral. I don't think it matters if it's brown or green, but for some reason they have 2 different types here. And you got your picnic table, fire pit. I don't know if that log is meant to be like a hitching post or what, but it's interesting. So fire pit on this side, picnic table right there. You could put a tent back in that corner if you really wanted to, or over there actually. So 7's pretty good. I gotta say 7 is probably the best one so far. The privacy lot lines are the best. Yeah, you can come over here to 6, but you just park your car right here and you'll kind of block 6. So, and then you're hanging out over here. So that was 7. I think it's the best one so far as privacy lot lines, good wide and deep parking. I like where the picnic table, fire pit is. You got a 4-pack corral right on the end of the campground. So 7 I think is the best, but I think they're all pretty good. We're right next to a trailhead, so let's check this out. Got a trail network coming from here. So it says Winopee Tie Trail, number 16.5. Winopee Trailhead, 3 miles. So Winopee Trailhead actually just came from there. Cultus Campground. It's on the end of Cultus Campground. You got 2 birds here. Hey guys. Very cool. So the Winopee Trailhead, 3 miles away, that's at the edge of Cultus Lake Campground. I just did a full review of that. I've got Little Cultus Campground, and now Cultus Corral Horse Campground. I got all 3. The Cultus 3-pack available here on my channel, Wilderness Trail Perspective. But this is the Tie Trailhead that takes you over to Winopee, which just takes you over ultimately to like Mink Lake, that whole area. You can also access it from the Lucky Lake side. I do know the area well, so pretty cool. If you're doing it on horse, it's a heck of a lot easier than doing it on foot. I'll tell you that. It's a long freaking hike, like 17 to 20 miles, depending on which trailhead you start at. So if you can do that on horse, more power to you. Okay, so that was 7. Here's 8. Don't let this picnic table right here fool you. That's for 9. So here's the post for 8. Here's your picnic table, your fire pit, pretty well shaded. I'd say slightly wider than normal driveway, deep driveway. There's your corral. I really do like the shade here. It's got a good feel to it. It's kind of right on the edge. Because the way 7 was over there with the Winopee Tie Trailhead between you, got good privacy lines. You even have your own little trail access point to the Winopee Tie Trail. Straight ahead, you can see the little brown pillar, so that's nice. So 7 and 8 are probably the best. So picnic table, corral. You do have 9 and over there. That's 9's corral and 9's 2 picnic tables. So we'll go look at that next. Come over here. So I found this very confusing, and I think I got it wrong the first time I tried to do 8, but I reassessed and figured out. The thing that was throwing me off is this pillar is right in front of this picnic table, but that just happens to be a coincidence. See this picnic table and fire pit? I think that's for 9. It's not for 8. So it's just a little confusing. So come over here, and you got site 9. Long driveway, not as wide, but more narrow. So deep but narrow. See, that corral is for 10. So that's the picnic table and corral for 10. It's kind of confusing. That's your driveway. This is the area for 9. So you got a picnic table, fire pit for 9 right there. You got a second picnic table just for funsies right there. And then you got your 4-pack corral right here. For some reason, these ones are all brown and the first few were green, but whatever, I don't really care. So you got a 4-pack corral, pretty good shade, that's nice. Remember right over there, you've got 8. 8's got access to the Winopee Tie Trail. So probably what's special is that's a really nice picnic table in the shade. There's another picnic table and fire pit. So you just got a bonus picnic table here, which is nice. That was 9. Let's continue along. You got the restroom straight ahead. That's nice. Got 2 left, 10 and 11. Both here on the left. Here is 10. And say it's a nice long driveway, which is nice. Pretty well shaded. Picnic table, fire pit here on the left. Just so you know, this picnic table is for 11, picnic table and fire pit. So don't go to your right, go to your left for 10. Picnic table, fire pit. It's a little counterintuitive. It's a little hard to figure out. So that's why I'm walking through these. Oh, I like that. I love it when they have a in memoriam rock. I always think that's a very classy, nice touch. So I always respect that. It says, in memory, Ben Lusk. Appreciate that. So you got your 4-pack corral right here. Okay, shade. Picnic table and fire pit again over here. Over there is the end of the line, 11. You don't have the best lot lines. Like, imagine if another party's right there, a bunch of people sitting right there, and their horses are right there, then you're kind of up in each other's business. Good news is you got the restroom right there. So if you go to the restroom a lot, that's convenient. Bad news is people slam it in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m. could wake you up, but it is what it is. So here's your picnic table and fire pit. You do have 9 over there. So this is a bit of a mosh pit, like as far as privacy lines, very much a serviceable base camp if you just want to be in the area, but not exactly like an idyllic privacy lot line situation. But as I said, if you look at maybe I'm painting with too big of a brush, but I don't think a lot of horse people are too worried about an idyllic campsite as far as the privacy lot lines. I think they just like having the logistical play of being able to get their horses here. And a lot of times, from my experience, at least watching, there's a lot of horse people get together in large groups, and that's part of the fun. So I don't think they're too worried about the privacy lot lines. Keeping it real, it's more of a single family concern. Here's 11. Here's back to our campground road. This is the end of the line. Again, you got your restroom right there, very convenient. Picnic table, fire pit, you got 10 just across the way, not the best lot lines. Wide driveway, not as deep as several of the other ones. So wider, but not as deep. You got your really well shaded 4-pack brown horse corral. So that's nice. That's good shade for the horses. Right up against this thicket of ponderosa pines and lodgepole pines. Remember, there's your friend 10 in their picnic table. So yeah, it's pretty decent. I like the shade, particularly for the corral. Your picnic table, fire pit, you're pretty exposed. So this isn't really a privacy play, but as I said, I probably don't care if you're in a big group. So that's 11. Here's a little sign that says, please spread manure beyond perimeter trail, no twine or bags. Also point out, we do have a little connector trail over to the Winopee Tie Trail, just adjacent to the right of site near the restroom on the opposite side. And we do have this little shelter thing. It's interesting. Right next to that And then at the very edge, of course, we have the water pump, potable water situation thing going on. Okay, so I just walked all 11 sites here at Cultus Corral Horse Camp, Deschutes National Forest, Central Oregon. Very high quality horse camp as far as horse camps go. Very much a serviceable base camp. You can use this area to go to the Winopee Tie Trailhead over near Cultus Lake and beyond, all the way up to Mink Lake. And it's just a gorgeous wonderland of a couple dozen miles that you can go explore the area or beyond. So that's very cool. There's not much variety between these campsites, keeping it real. Very much a 3 squares and a cot mentality. More of, as I said, a logistical base camp. Really the only variety is in the parking. Some are wider, some are deeper. That might matter to you based on your trailer and how many cars you're bringing. And then they all have an enclosure corral, some green, some brown. You probably don't care about that, except site 4 has 3 hitching posts that you got to tie your horses to. So I don't know, depending on how you manage your horses, that may or may not be a deal breaker for you. You might want to know that on the front end. So 4, I'm assuming that the hitching post thing is worse than the enclosed corral thing. So 4 is probably the one I'd steer clear from if that's something you don't want to have to mess with. I did think the highest quality were 7 and 8 just because of the lot lines and because they had the direct access to the Winopee Tie Trailhead, which to me is one of the big value propositions of staying here, is going on an adventure with your horses, not just hanging around the camp. What's the point of that? So yeah, I gotta say I'm pretty impressed. Beautiful little area, very serviceable utility base camp. Beautiful Cultus Corral Horse Camp. This concludes my campground review.